everyone, and welcome to the first session of Finanza 21, Exploring Beyond the Balance Sheet. In today's session, our discussion panel is hoping to build on the topic of the cyclical power of integrated thinking and reporting. And we will be discussing everything that we need to know about integrated reporting and why it is important to an organization. It is my great pleasure to welcome our head of the department, Dr. M.M.M. Shamil, the senior lecturer, Professor C. Pathirvasam, the stream coordinator, Dr. Madhurika Nanayakkara, and all the lecturers who are present here today. I'm truly honored to welcome the discussion panel of today's session, Mr. Nuwan Withanage, Mr. Asanka Dinesh, and Ms. Marika Silva. Furthermore, I'm pleased to welcome all the participants who have gathered here today for the session. First of all, let me introduce our very special discussion panel. First, we have Mr. Nuwan Withanage, the CFO of SoftLogic Life Insurance PLC, and a board member of the Integrated Reporting Council of Sri Lanka. He has served as an industry expert in drafting the degree syllabus for the Department of Finance of University of Kelaniya and in drafting the statement of the recommended practice of insurance contracts for the insurance industry of Sri Lanka. Next up, we have Mr. Asanka Dinesh, who is a senior manager of SoftLogic Life Insurance PLC and has over 13 years of experience. He's an associate member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka and serves as a member of the task force to develop non-financial reporting practices. Mr. Asanka Dinesh is also a member of the Association of Accounting Technicians of Sri Lanka. Also, we warmly welcome Ms. Marika Silva, the finance manager of SoftLogic Capital PLC. She's a member of the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants UK and the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka. She also serves as a member of CASL Task Force to develop non-financial reporting practices. With that, let's hand over the session to Mr. Asanka Dinesh and Ms. Marika Silva. Thank you.
It's a great pleasure to present you our knowledge and experience because as a responsible corporate citizen, SoftLogic Life is always willing to help young generation to groom themselves and for them to become great corporate leaders in coming arenas. So we would like to share our experience about integrated reporting with y'all, so that when you become a corporate leader in future, you will apply your holistic thinking and overall knowledge when you handle a company. So without further ado, let me take you all through the integrated reporting aspects. So throughout this presentation, we would like to present why corporate reporting is needed and evolution of corporate reporting, and we would also like to take you all through Integrated Reporting Council, and also we will provide you brief understanding about integrated reporting framework and how this integrated reporting framework going to be different from the other frameworks, and also we will be sharing all our practical knowledge and experience with you all. Okay, so first of all, before moving to integrated reporting, let me tell you why corporate reporting is important. Why there's a concept called corporate reporting. As you all know, for a company to do their operations and to start their businesses, they need money, they need funds. So investors put money and fund for businesses to start their operations. And such invested capital will be managed by managers. Managers will take all decisions on behalf of investors, and they're responsible for the invested capital and to achieve corporate goals and vision. So managers have that stewardship or responsibility towards investors to account for their money invested. Not only investors, employees, suppliers, regulators, society, and customers and creditors, everyone, there are numerous stakeholders, they would like to know about the company's performance. The way of communicating the company's performance would be corporate reporting. How companies communicate about their performance to all other stakeholders is about corporate reporting. They communicate about their performance through these reporting aspects, because investors and other employees, suppliers, regulators, they don't have direct access to their company's information. This is how companies use to communicate about their performance to their stakeholders. So that's why corporate reporting aspects have been evolved. So I will take you through the evolution of corporate reporting. In 1960s, basically they focused on only investors. They provided financial statements and investors could see, okay, this is how the companies have utilized their financial statement, their invested capital, and they could see what are their profits and what is the return on their capital invested. So first they focused only those aspects, but moving further, it was noted that merely providing financial statements would not suffice. There are other aspects also to be considered, like environmental reporting, governance, because with this environmental changing aspects, environmental reporting had been considered as a crucial aspect when companies are performing. So these corporates started to report about environmental aspects as well, their impact towards this environment. And thereafter, they understood that merely reporting financial, environment, and governance aspect would not suffice. They should also think about the society and how they fulfill their corporate social responsibility aspects. That's how the sustainability reporting has evolved, focusing on economic, social, and environmental aspects. And then by 2020, people realized that merely focusing on sustainability, environment, and those things, they just reported, they had several reporting elements of these aspects. They had report for sustainability, they had report to present financial statement, governance was there in another set of report. So they identified investors and the other stakeholders would like to see the holistic aspects. Rather than merely focusing on several reports, they would, the investors and all stakeholders would like to see holistic aspect of these reporting. So that's how this integrated reporting has evolved to show the integrated aspect or the holistic aspect of the businesses to their stakeholders. So basically, integrated reporting will provide holistic picture of their businesses to their stakeholders. Moving further, when we take balance sheets in earlier times, maybe around 1975, balance sheet could explain most of their assets. If you could see this diagram, tangible assets, it was around 80% of their balance sheet, and intangible asset was only 20%. But with the evolution of businesses, their tangible asset has become only 20%. Other intangible assets such as their network aspects and their customer relationship, their environmental aspects. Those things comprise of 80% of their business value. So it's inevitable that corporate reporting should focus on other aspects as well without merely focusing on financial aspects. I think that is clear for you all why this type of integrated reporting is necessary, because now balance sheet can explain only 20%. All 80% is consist of intangible assets. Previously, just providing financial information had sufficed because balance sheet could moving further. Now we will see why we need to have this integrated report, because as I have already explained to you all previously, also we had sustainability reporting and social responsibility reporting. So we had reports all over places, but we realized that those information is not connected, and also reporting was overloaded with lot of information. Previously they were just focusing on the compliance aspect. All previous reports had just a compliance checklist only. Then what corporate did was they just tried their best to adhere to those compliances and put tick marks in front of that compliances. And also it was noted that material information was lost in the details that they have provided. So that there were arguments or there were concerns from the investors and the other stakeholders. This corporate reporting aspects doesn't provide overview of the business, and it doesn't provide holistic aspect of the business, and they were unable to connect their information to make their decisions effectively. So because of this prevailing issues of the reporting frameworks that we previously had, integrated reporting had provided the solution to that. So to come up with this integrated reporting council made a partnership with investors, companies, regulators, standard setters, and other companies, and they get together to make that decision to decide what type of information to be presented to get holistic approach or the holistic understanding of the business. And then they made a solution. For an example, simply think you are an investor. Now after you complete your degree, now we are going to become an investor. So what you would like to see, for an example, we'll say you have money and you invest in the share market of a particular company. What you would like to see from this company towards the year end? Would you like to see information here and there, or would you like to get overall understanding of the company? Would you like to solve puzzle and to do the investment, or would you like to see a solved puzzle like in this third element that you see and to do the investment? For sure, you would like to see a solved puzzle. So solved puzzle would be the integrated reporting. So integrated reporting, it tells a story to investors. Okay, this is what you have invested. This is our story. This is how we have created value to your money. So integrated reporting aspects is mainly focused on the value creation. For investors, they would see what is the value created out of the funds that they have invested. And also, it's not just financials, it addresses all such issues, environmental aspects, social aspects, and human related aspects. So it's just not financial, it provides solution for all these stakeholders. And also, if you see integrated report, it is very concise. It's easy to read. It's kind of a storytelling. So people will tend to read integrated reporting because of this conciseness. And also, as an investor, as I previously explained, if you become an investor, you would like to see future of this business, because now you have invested your funds and you would like to see how this company is utilizing their fund and also what are their future plans. The previous reporting that we had, it didn't that much focused on future. So integrated reporting had provided that solution to have strategic focus and future orientation. And also, it is not here and there. All such information was connected. Investor could see, not only investor, all such stakeholders could see how it has been connected. And this Integrated Reporting Council had these key insights when they present this integrated report. As I have explained, as users, if you are an investor, you would like to see value creation over time. And also, if you could present your business well to all stakeholders, you will be able to unlock your long-term investments. And also, it will provide wider perspectives about all such capitals, not merely focusing on financial capital. So those were the key insights Integrated Reporting Council had when they are to make this integrated reporting framework. I think you have got kind of a brief understanding why this corporate reporting has evolved up to integrated reporting and why it is important. So moving forward, as I have already explained, this will provide concise communication of their value creation over time without merely focusing on financial performance. So now we will see core features of this integrated reporting. So if you download, you can easily download integrated reporting framework through Google. If you download, you will see there are 3 key elements. Integrated reporting framework first provide introduction to this framework and the capitals and their value creation. And also they provide what are the guiding principles that they have based on. So as I have already explained, they have strategic focus and future orientation, which is one of the key areas investors and other stakeholders would like to see. And also, the guiding principle itself have connectivity of information. So integrated reporting framework will provide all information interconnected through business model. And also they focused on all stakeholders and stakeholders responsiveness. As we already know, investors, or rather all stakeholders, would like to see material information for their decision making. If an information is capable of making difference of the investment decision, that is considered as material. So integrated reporting encourage preparers to present material information to all stakeholders. They have separate guideline to decide materiality and to filter material elements, and they focus on material information so that information is not overloaded. We previously discussed previous reporting framework. One of such issues that they had was it was overloaded, cluttered. But now this integrated reporting, it provides kind of concise information and based on materiality, since that is not overloaded. And also they have consistency throughout years. So easily investor or rather any stakeholder will be able to compare because of this consistency. And then this integrated reporting framework has content elements. It clearly specify for an annual report, okay, this is the content elements that they need to have. For an example, first they want companies to provide overview and about their external environment, and then the governance aspects. Then this integrated reporting framework require to present the business model, and then they want us to present risk and opportunities, and then strategy and resource allocation, and performance and outlook. Examples of these content elements, Dinesh will take you through such examples. Here, I just wanted to give you kind of an overview how this integrated reporting framework's core features consist of. So it basically consists of introduction, guiding principle, and content elements. Hope you are clear with the core features of integrated reporting. Then, integrated reporting actually based on basically 6 capitals. For an example, we have financial capital, manufactured capital, intellectual capital, human capital, social and relationship capital, and natural capital. Okay, for an example, we'll take a manufacturing company who's producing a product, and they use water to produce that product. But at the end, if they release water damaged to the environment or rivers, that would not cater this key ideas of integrated reporting, because integrated reporting wants us to think holistically. If we utilize some type of a resource as our manufactured capital, they would like to see how it has been impact to the natural capital and how it is being impact to the social and relationship capital, and they want us to see the overall picture of all such capital when we make decisions. So integrated reporting encourage businesses to think about holistically about business operation before making a decision. For an example, if they are going to make investment decision, they want to see how they are going to finance that and what type of resources that they need in terms of machines and buildings and all. Not only that, without stopping from that end, they want to think how we are going to utilize human capital. Are we going to utilize child labor? If yes, it is not acceptable, so we should adhere to such principles. And is there any damage to the environment, and what type of social outcome we are going to provide? Likewise, when businesses make decisions, integrated reporting is required to think through all such aspects. So that is the beauty of this integrated reporting framework, because that will lead businesses to make their decisions by thinking holistically. Moving further, how this capital and value creation is happening. As I have already explained, we have 6 capitals: financial, manufactured, intellectual, human, social, and relationship capital. Then we consider these as inputs to our organization, and then we can provide output through the business model. So when it's come to a business, we have inputs and we provide that inputs to our business activities, and then we generate output. For an example, if I will take only financial capital as example. Dinesh will take you through further examples of whole business model. Here I'm trying to give kind of an overview for the business model and capital and value creation process. For an example, if we take financial capital, we provide cash flows and money for a investment. And then what could be the outcome that we get? Return on investments and our profitability. And what type of outcomes that we gain from this investment will be financial stability and future growth of the business. Likewise, we can clearly identify how our financial capital has been utilized to provide output and outcome of the business. So that's how this capitals and value creation is interconnected. Not only financial capital, we can get inputs of all such 6 capitals and then provide outcome of all such 6 capital. That is what integrated reporting framework requires corporates to present. So now the corporates adapted to this framework, they present all their 6 capitals and output of such 6 capital and outcome of such 6 capital. So Dinesh will take you through live examples of inputs, outputs and outcomes. You will get a better understanding. Here I hope you all have gained overview of the business model. And here we want to see how integrated reporting is different from other reporting framework. So previously, businesses' thinking process was isolated. As I have explained, businesses, when they make their decision, they just focused on the financial return. They just focus on return on equity. But after adapting to this integrated reporting framework, they start to think holistically. From that investment decision, what could be the impact to the society? What could be the impact to the environment? What type of impact can be made to their staff or rather human capital? So likewise, people started to think holistically after following this integrated reporting framework. So isolate thinking has been transformed to holistic thinking after adapting to integrated reporting. Previously, when providing stewardship, what does that mean by stewardship? Managers are accountable to provide, managers are accountable to take care of invested capital of investors. So when they provide that stewardship, previously they just focused on financial capital. But now they have all form of 6 capitals to focus on. And also, in integrated reporting principles, we learn that they have strategic focus and future orientation. Previously, most of such reporting frameworks just focusing on past financial information. They didn't focus on future aspects. They didn't actually disclose future objectives and key performance indicators of their future outcomes. But after adapting to integrated reporting, it encouraged preparers to provide future aspects along with past data and also all strategic information connected to each other. So that is one of the core difference if you compare other previous reporting frameworks that we had and integrated reporting. And also, if we take time frame, previously they were just focusing on short term, but integrated reporting framework encourage preparers to present information short, medium, and long term. Also, when we have this holistic approach of providing information, that will enhance trust of the investors. Because when a company becomes more transparent, trust of the investors will enhance. So, integrated reporting had resulted in increasing trust towards investors. And also, previously, as I have explained, it was merely kind of a checklist that they need to adhere. It was rule bound. They had certain elements and a checklist, so they were just ticking that checklist. But integrated reporting framework, it's not a checklist. It kind of principle-based approach where corporate has flexibility. If they want to give financial information in numeric way, they can present in that way. If they want to provide narrative form, they can provide in that way. There are no rule-bound commitments in this integrated reporting that is principle-based, and corporate has flexibility on deciding what to be adapted. There's no hard and fast rule that they need to disclose all 6 capital. If they don't see if that is not necessary, they can keep or they can remain without disclosing about such capital. So this is totally a principle-based approach. There are no hard and fast rules as such. And also conciseness. Previously, previous frameworks were based on checklist. So preparers wanted to adhere all checklists. When they try to adhere all checklists, automatically that report was very lengthy. But this integrated reporting, since it was principle based and preparers has more flexibility, this integrated report is very much concise compared to previous reporting. And also now technology is a immense important aspect that all we need to focus on. Previous frameworks just focused on paper-based approach, but integrated reporting, it's a technology-enabled approach, and corporates can decide how they are going to present their information, whether it's paper-based or technology-driven. So these are the key elements that we can demarcate the difference between integrated reporting and other financial reporting. Hope it is clear, because this was kind of a concern that you all had. Even when we speak to lecturers, they also mentioned that you all would like to see how integrated reporting is different from other frameworks, and you all were a bit confused how it is going to be different. So this table will provide you kind of a overview how integrated reporting is different from other framework. So hope that is clear for you all. Next, I will move to the aims of integrated reporting framework. Integrated Reporting Council wanted to see if effective allocation of 6 capital, because they wanted to see without focusing on merely one capital, they wanted to see fair allocation of resources to all such capital. And also this is a cohesive and efficient approach for corporate reporting. From the things that we have already discussed, you have realized that this will provide efficient approach because it is not a compliance checklist. This will actually time saving because companies can decide what to present or not. They don't need to bother if this has been complied or not. It's kind of a flexible approach that corporate can follow. And most importantly, above everything, this integrated reporting provides corporates to think, promote integrated thinking of corporates. As I have explained, if you are to make investment decision, now corporate doesn't merely focus on financial aspects. They can think through other aspects as well before making such decision. So most importantly, Integrated Reporting Council aims to support integrated thinking through integrated reporting framework. So when integrated reporting thinking is embedded in their business model, ultimately integrated reporting is anyway fulfilled, because only through integrated thinking corporate can present integrated reporting, because this is not just a reporting framework. This provides insights for decision makers through 6 capital overview holistic approach. And we will see what type of benefits that businesses, investors, and markets and society can reap out of these integrated reporting elements. As I have explained, now businesses, their decision making is already improved through integrated thinking. And also they can focus on value creation. They can see, okay, how much value has created to this investment that the investors had made, and how much value that we have provided to the society, and how much value we have provided to the environment. Likewise, we will be able to see value created for all such capital, and business itself will benefit because integrated reporting promotes sustainable approach. And also investors, when they make their investment decision, they can see whether this corporate is complied to environmental standards, whether they provide their corporate social responsibility aspects, and whether this company provides sufficient return for their investment. Everything is covered. So investors themselves get benefited out of this integrated reporting framework through this holistic reporting. And also, not only these business and investors, market and the society will also get benefited out of integrated reporting framework. How that is going to happen? Because this integrated reporting framework focus on environmental aspect, social and relationship capital. So market and society will be able to see, okay, what type of initiatives that the businesses had been taken to encourage to save environment and to encourage society, and what type of social responsibility aspects that they have fulfilled. So not only businesses and investors, overall, all stakeholders will be gaining these benefits from integrated reporting framework. It's not just merely focusing on businesses and the investors. So these are some kind of quick facts about integrated reporting framework. 79% of directors and non-executive directors believe that integrated reporting provide effective dialogue with their shareholders and other stakeholders. And also the participants to this integrated reporting framework has continuously increasing. And also, this participant of integrated reporting think this integrated reporting framework will provide better understanding or better lead towards their strategic decision making process. And also, 80% of the investors believe that holistic provision of this information will effectively contribute to their decision making. So that is the beauty of integrated reporting. Everyone, all stakeholders accept that integrated reporting has provided value addition for their investment decision making. And also, CEOs and other directors also think integrated reporting has improved their decision making through integrated thinking. These are kind of quick facts about integrated reporting framework. Over 98 listed companies, around 35% of Sri Lankan companies listed in Colombo Stock Exchange have adopted to integrated reporting, and over 1,500 organizations worldwide adapted to integrated reporting, and also 2,000 participants are there across globe. It's kind of an evolving concept. Still, there are 65% of companies yet to adopt integrated reporting in Sri Lanka. For sure, they will also adapt to integrated reporting in coming future. So I think integrated reporting, it's kind of a best communication method towards their investors. So for y'all, what you could do is, as an activity or an assignment, you can do comparison of a company which has been adapted to integrated reporting, and you can take another company which has not been adapted to integrated reporting. So download those annual reports from CSE website and do kind of a comparison. Then you will be able to understand the difference. Then you will see the structure that the company who had been following integrated reporting, how it differ from a company who had not been following integrated reporting. I think that is a good activity that you all can get together and do, because integrated reporting provides companies to present well-structured reporting format. If you compare those two companies, you will realize how structured integrated report is compared to non-adapted annual report. So download two annual reports from the website and do that comparison. So next, Dinesh will take you all through the practical aspects of integrated reporting. I just wanted to provide kind of an theoretical and overview for the integrated reporting by emphasizing why this reporting framework is needed and what type of benefits businesses can reap by adapting to this framework, and what are the core elements that integrated reporting has focused upon. So over to you, Dinesh, to continue with practical examples of integrated reporting.
Thank you, Mayurika. Can I have? Okay. So basically, my part will be more theoretical, more practical aspects of integrated reporting. So I will start my presentation with kind of a code that I am saying that integrated reporting is not only a reporting framework, because by name it is integrated reporting framework, yes, but there are three core parts inbuilt in the integrated reporting framework. So actually I'm going to focus on those other two parts that not always being talked about. So what are those parts? Integrated thinking and integrated planning. So for that, we will move it integrated thinking. What is integrated thinking? This is partly covered, Ms. Mayurika also. What you all can see here, here and there are some letters which really don't give any message to you. But if I rearrange the same letters in this order, it will give some kind of a message to you. It is in August. It is the month of August. The same as if we take our organizations, the practical aspect also same as that. Now again, I have included some very famous frameworks that you all anyway have heard about. So BCG, Mendelov matrix, and 7 Ps. Those are actually some kind of a frameworks we usually using in our corporate planning sessions. But think kind of this way. Now, if we take the organization, there are many sub-departments included in the organization. Say, for example, finance, HR, marketing. So there are subdivisions. Now this 7P will be using mostly by marketing people. But the BCG metrics, basically what product to sell. So what should be the product portfolio. So that kind of framework basically will be might be using the sales department or sales director kind of a thing. Now assume these people are isolated, so they take decision their own. They don't talk to each other. What will happen is the marketing people will focus their marketing strategy on product A of the company. But in the real world, what will happen is the sales people will go and sell product B, which has the demand. The ultimate impact is the utter failure of the company. So what integrated reporting framework is suggests, don't be isolated, get decision very informed decision, having the overall knowledge of the company. So what should happen is we should collect all this information from the sub department, and they should talk each to other, and they should decide what should be their game plan, what should be their strategy. Then only the success of the company will be established. So if we do that, basically we will go ahead with this collective understanding, collective thinking pattern, then only the value creation of the company will be happening. So next, if the senior management of the company, so they have this overall knowledge, they talk to each other, they understand what the marketing people understand, what finance do, the finance people understand what marketing do, what sales is doing. So they talk to each other. Then they have every people in the organization has bird eye view of the company. So they know what is happening in the company. If that is there, the decision they take are very informed decision. So then their strategy and plans are very strong. They manage their risk of failure. So this build stakeholders, this build basically investors' confidence on future performance. So if these two parts happens, integrated thinking, integrated planning, if these two parts happen properly in the organization, then comes to the integrated reporting. Since I am going to show one example of SoftLogic Life. This is real life example how we incorporated our integrated thinking, integrated planning into our budgeting cycle or rather strategy setting. This is for this year 2021-23. We do the planning cycle. Our first step is we assess where we are. For that, actually, our senior management get together and decide where we are now. Then the next step is where we want to go from here. So now there is a gap. How we going to there? For that, we set some strategy. So when we set in that strategy, we closely look at our external and internal environment. So once we do all these things, now we know, if we know our strength, if we know our weaknesses, if we know our competition in the market, then only we take some informed decision on our future. So with that, we will do our objective setting. Basically, when the budgeting cycles come, so it is once we complete this first part, then we convert this strategy into the some kind of financial objective and strategic objective. For example, since you all are students, so financial objective, we will have some this millions of profit. This is one kind of financial objective. Strategic objective, we will achieve 10% of market share. So strategic objective. So that kind of objectives are set. If once the objectives are set, the next is convert into the KPIs. If we have some kind of KPIs for now, basically we have on our hands KPIs for 2021 to 2023. Then we can regularly monitor how the company's performance is. So if we have any negative deviation, we can take immediate actions. If we can see any positives, we can grab from the emerging opportunities. Yes, we can adopt that. So that is the overall process in practical way happening in the companies. Once all these things are done, only the reporting is coming into play. To report our performance, the integrated thinking to integrated planning, then we perform, then there will be some outcomes. To report that outcomes, we use integrated IR framework. So if I were to assess these three pillars, I would give equal weightage for all these pillars. Integrated thinking, integrated planning is important, integrated thinking is important, integrated reporting also important. So as Mayurika also explained, the overall framework we can split into three groups: introduction, guiding principle, and content elements. So introduction basically tell you how to use the framework. Guiding principle is how information is presented, and content element says what categories of information that you will be presenting in the integrated report. Introduction. So when under introduction, two key parts we can identify: capitals and value creation. Actually, Mayurika covers all these two parts, but since because of that, I am going to touch upon the capitals in this manner. What you looking at the right hand side is SoftLogic Life Annual Report 2020 extraction from that report. So you can refer always to our report. So when you deciding on capitals, think you are a owner of the business. Then it is very easy to understand what is this capital. So I will take one example. Now you are a owner of the company. So you need money to start. So the capital, the invested capital is financial capital. So you need some workers to work in your organization. So that's called human capital. So you need some customers to sell your products. So that relate to social and relationship capitals. Basically, social and relationship capital, we can further divide into three: customers, business partners, and communities. So then, who are the business partners? So to run your business, you need supplier base. You need some raw material. So they are your business partners. You need to bank with some bank. So bank is a business partner. So those kind of relationships are identified as business partners. Now community. This is little bit crucial, but I will put this as this, like, if we identified our company, the rest of the Sri Lanka would be our community. But essentially, we can remove our customers and business partners from our community because we have separately identified them. Then who are the community? So then the rest of the people that might have impact from your value creation process. If you still can't understand, take like that. Now see, since you are the owner of the business, you need to hire another person to your company. Basically, you need to expand your human capital. So from where are you going to hire this person? This is from the community. That's why the relationship with the community is taken into the account, where if we don't have such kind of a good relationship with our community, so you will not be hire these people. So I hope that part is clear. So then the intellectual capital, basically, if you have some kind of a knowledge, that patent right, or some kind of a knowledge that others don't have, that is intellectual capital. That is why your business is having taken some core benefit out of other competitors. So this knowledge that will be tacit or tangible or intangible knowledge that your organization has. But other than that, you can consider your brand value or the IT systems that you have, those kind of area also as a intellectual capital. Manufactured capital. So you to run the business, you need some kind of a physical asset. So those basically covered under manufactured capital. And also natural capital, what kind of a natural resources you are using in the business process. So I will so this is value creation process. So I will spend some times I need to spend some times to understand this. The framework is already explained by the Mayurika. So we have inputs. So we have some business process there. So then we can have some outcomes as showed in the diagram. So the business process the business process is what actually happening in our organization. So let's put live example, then you will understand very clearly what is this business process. Now my example is your canteen, basically the university canteen. Now what they do is basically selling lunch packets. So having 3 or 4 staff, including one cooking specialist cook. So put yourself to the owner of that business and go through this my example. So then you can clearly understand what is this value creation and how it links to the integrated reporting. Yes, to start the business again, he need initial capital. So that's there. So he needs some workers, helpers, and cook to cook the food. So, and he needs some, he has to have some recipe, you know, he has to do some delicious food to you. So to be in the business, to success the business. So he has some some good recipe, and he has to has some kind of a furniture because to serve the foods to you. So, and he has to have some customers. So essentially you are the customers of that business, and he has to have some natural resources, but I just focus on the water. So these are his inputs. Then what is his business process? Now one person is cooking the cooking. So it is one part of the his business process. Then one person is wrapping. So she what she is doing is wrapping the lunch packet. So one lady is serving the lunch or the foods to the students. So, and there will be a cashier function. So these are main 4 functions that happening in the canteen. So this is the business process of the canteen. So then by doing that, what he will produce to you, he will give you a food and tea. This is his output. Then if we run this business process for 1 year, what will happen to these inputs? The initial capitals, basically the financial capitals might be enhanced with the profit he generate. So now if we assume that these helpers are very layman, so their first job, but now they have worked for a year, so then they know very well how to do this, how to do their job. So then so then human capital has been developed. So then the recipe, now initially he had one recipe, but now he know the cooking over an year, throughout the years, how to add some more flavor. So your intellectual capital has been increased. So manufactured capital, since the business is growing, now he has purchased another 10 to 15 tables and chairs. So your manufactured capital has increased over the years. So social and relationship capital. So you have more customers. Previously, you had only one or two customers, student going there. But now you have 1,000 students rushing there to eat his food. So your customer capital, basically relationship capital, is increased. I took natural capital in other ways, since all others I took as positive. Now what he will do is the wastewater is he makes that wastewater into the I would say the river. So he is polluting the river. So the natural capital is diluting, basically impacting negatively. So these are the outcome of his business. So to run this business in effective manner, so this is the business model of the canteen. So other than that, he needs some other knowledge to successful in this business. Those are basically how many food supplies around the university. So he should know how many supplies are there and their price range. So if he sells something above, the business model will not work. Type of products. So if he has some different foods in his store, then the demand will be more. So quality of the product. So that's kind of a external environment analysis or knowledge is required for him to run the business effectively. And he should understand the risk and opportunities. The inflation, so the inflation is increasing, so that price of commodity is going increasing. Whether I can provide the same foods to a student at a affordable price. So he has a risk. So trend of online education due to COVID. Now people are not moving here and there, so the demand will be less. So that is a risk. So low customer visit due to health concerns. Again, a risk that he should assess in his business. The opportunities. So even though there are lockdowns things, this time actually food delivery and all those the essential is taken as essential service. So he has opportunity to still continue his business. So if he understand this risk and opportunities, what he should next do is put good strategy to get maximum out of this risk and opportunities. But he should do some marketing campaign saying that the awareing students, so he will supply fruit even there are travel restrictions. So then he should, if he don't have a delivery capacity, he should partner with delivery service. Now you can see there is a growth prospect. Now there is a growth prospect to this canteen business. So what outlook is? Outlook is basically profitability improvement. Now my business model is converting to more delivery kind of a transformation is happening due to externalities. So this is how we should look at overall picture of value creation and business model. So with that, now you can cross-check each and of these boxes with my examples. So to correctly understand what is the value creation. So then the guiding principle, of course, Mayuruka is went through, so I am not touch upon that area very much with that limited time. And here again, what I need to say is the materiality. Some misconceptions are there with materiality. How to determine materiality? When we determine materiality under IR framework, the basis is if anything, any event has some impact, positive or negative impact to your value creation process that we have discussed, that is material to that business. So that's how material should be determined. So other things are you can read through. So the last part is content element. So we have a content element under IR framework. So here I will be explaining our SoftLogic Annual Report 2020 with all these content elements, so that you can see how in practical manner when we preparing integrated report, how we comply with these content elements that required by IR framework. So organizational overview and external environment. So when we take organization, yes, it is about organization and the circumstance under which it is operate. It is external environment. So organization. Yes. Now I will rush through with some key facts that we have showed about our company. So we are a life insurance company, so we have mentioned that. So our industry position has increased over the years. We have mentioned it here. So our unique value proposition. So our unique value propositions are there, and our products portfolio, and our vision, mission, value, and our resources that we are using, and our ownership structure, and some kind of awards that we have won. This is our value generation and distribution, and our organizational structure, and our history. So these are the key areas that we have covered under organization. So if we go to external environment, if we go to external environment, now we have analyzed our business under PESTEL framework. So political, economic, political and legal, economical, and then social, technological, environmental. So we have analyzed our business in a PESTEL framework, and I would like to highlight that when we analyzing under PESTEL, we identify risks and opportunities to our business, impact to soft-logic life, and out of that, what are the risks and opportunities that we should identify to run our business. So here what we have listed is risk and opportunities from the PESTEL analysis. So then SWOT analysis of soft-logic life, and then our industry analysis. Under industry analysis, even we have used that 5 forces model to assess our competitiveness of industry. So this is how actually we have used this framework in actual manner to assess our strategy as well as to report through the integrated reporting. Then the governance. Yes, governance actually, what IR requirement is, how does the organization governance structure support its ability to create value in the short, medium and long term. So even though that is the requirement in the Sri Lankan context, there are mandatory reporting requirement as well as voluntary reporting requirements for governance. So in complying with all this requirement, what our process to what we did was basically to achieve our strategic objective. To achieve our strategic objective, what are the governance components that we have implemented to ensure this our strategic objectives are achieved. So we have given page reference there. So what we wanted to look at here is, now if we have set a strategy to achieve our vision, mission or goals, our governance structure should ensure that these things are happening correctly, so that then only investor get confidence that his company is running smoothly, his company is not at risk. So for that, for strategic perspective, how governance components are linked. That is what actually we have showed here. And the business model, again, this is the same as the practical example, the canteen example, what we did. But if you can understand by looking at our business model, now we have inputs, we have business activities. So business activities, in my example, it is cashiering kind of a thing. Now in the insurance business, the main part is risk transferring. Basically, our customer is transfer his risk to the business. So we are managing the risk of the customer. So to do that, these are the steps that we follow. Basically, risk assessment, prospecting, customer need analysis, sales, underwriting, reinsurance, claims, investment management. So those are the business activities. So what are our outputs? Basically, health products, investment products, basically TTAP product, pension products. Those are the outputs of our business. So you can, I will go through one example now. If we take financial capital, our input is free cash flows. Now, FINRE, financial reinsurance arrangement, so shareholder equity. But our outcome will be prudent growth, financial stability, sustainable return. So that is our outcome. So I think so with like by like comparison, you can understand very clearly what is the business model. And here what we have mentioned is basically our strategic setting process is linked with risk, identification of risk and opportunities, our operating context, corporate governance, and integrated risk management. So our strategy setting is we have taken informed decision through this process. That's what we are meaning here. Then risk and opportunities. Again, I am going to, sorry. Risk and opportunities. Since we have a separate section on integrated risk management, we have given a summary of risk here. If you go to the opportunities, you can see we have analyzed in detail what are the opportunities that exist in the market and impact to the Soflogic Life. It is high, low, and nothing. If it is a high to medium, if it is a low, actually we are not going to report it because it is not material. And analysis and what our response to grab these opportunities. So that kind of a very detailed analysis available in the report. And strategy and resource allocation. Now this is kind of, again, if you need to understand Soflogic Life strategy, this is a good document that you can always follow. Our strategy basically has pillars, 5 pillars: most caring life insurance, smart digitization, and so forth. Another 3 are there. So what we do is basically we assess in the short, medium, long run what is our importance of these pillars, and what are the strategies in short terms we are going to take. So what are the resources we have to achieve that strategy, and what are the KPIs that we are going to achieve. And you can see some numbers there: opportunity 1, opportunity 4, likewise. Throughout the report, before strategy setting, when we do external and internal analysis, we identify opportunities and threats and shareholder concerns. So the combination of those link to this pillar, so that the reader can very clearly understand, because of that, to capitalize this opportunity only, we have implemented this strategy. So that is what we are meaning here. So this is again a good, I would say, the good report that you can follow to understand how exactly IR integrated reporting is working. And the performance, basically the performance under IR, what they expect is to say what happens to our capitals and explain capital transformation over the year. So for that, again, we are using what we are thinking is, now we have some performance KPIs that we are assessing on regular basis. So employee productivity, we are looking at GWP per employee, so it has been increased. So that indirectly says that our human capital is efficient. That is what actually the investor is required. So, and the report basically includes some detail analysis and each and every material activity we have taken and we are expect to take. So you can go through these reports actually to understand how performance is measured and report in IR based on the guideline. The last part is outlook. Again, I am showing our annual report. Now we saying some story there, what will be our future, but meantime we are setting some KPIs, we are setting some measurable KPIs so that investor and the reader is confident that now when we go to the 2021, if we don't achieve this market capitalization, if we don't achieve this ROE, so we haven't done well. So then you can assess your company in more transparent manner. So this is why we have put 2021 target there to say that we have a story, we have a strategy. By achieving this strategy, these are the things we are going to, these are the KPIs we are going to achieve. So then it is measurable, not just a word, not just a statement. So with that, last part is basis of preparation. Basis of preparation, I would like to highlight one is material matters. So what they require to present the way how we identify material matters to the integrated reporting. So we have done that. This is our process, and these are the matters that we have identified as materials, and what we have linked here is basically what are the aspects, the findings of our internal and external environment linked with our material matter identification. And the last part is basically reporting boundary and summary of significant framework. So reporting boundary, basically boundary and scope, and in the reporting framework that comprise this annual report. So this is how we went to disclose those areas under our report. And I'm showing there some good examples that you can always follow, NetBank and Sasol, that those are some South African companies that have very good reports on integrated reporting. And if you need further examples of integrated reporting, you can still refer to the IR example database. So link is available in the this presentation. And what next? Basically, the assignment is already given by the Mayurika. So if I were you, what we'll do is basically same as to download few reports and compare the things that we have explained and see how different companies use different concepts to report these concepts in efficient manner. So then you can get very good understanding of integrated reporting, and you are welcome to contact any of us anytime. So if you have any kind of a clarification of things. So we will do our best to help you all. So with that, thank you. I think we have taken much of the time than expected. So sorry about that, but thank you very much on this.
Over to you.
Thank you
Ms.
so much,
Niranjana.
Marika Silva and Mr. Sankar Dinesh, for sharing your knowledge with us. Now, I cordially invite Mr. Nuwan Withanage to join us in the Q&A session. So we have received a few questions from our participants. The first question is, what are the challenges faced by companies when applying integrated reporting?
Yeah, I would say companies have many challenges. First thing is that there is no way that any company can implement new concept without buying with the senior management. So first, they need to convince senior management what are the benefits that company can get by implementing this. So then our future troubles won't be there. Otherwise, that we will be having future troubles, because that to invest or implement new concept, it's require resources and the commitment as well. So that's the first challenge that any company is having. Second challenge is that people might think again that we might come up with another technical framework, and therefore people don't see the value of the framework. Therefore, biggest challenge is that we want to convince the people what are the benefits if they participate for this process, and not as an organization as a whole, that people look at what is in for me. So therefore, we need to convince people other than the finance, if they work with this framework, what they get. So that's the other biggest challenge that I can see about this. And if they can, if any can do these those two parts, definitely other things are bread and butter. It's all about everybody falling into this framework, and they will understand. And other critical part is that I would like to highlight is that when we communicate with non-financial people, we want to communicate in the language that they will understand, rather than we are just repeating the technical aspects of this. Then their commitment and support will not be there. So those are the few challenges I can think about. So again, I can repeat, say that if we can do those three parts, definitely other things are pretty much easier things.
We also have another question. Does Sri Lanka follow integrated reporting successfully compared to other countries?
Yeah, that is a good question. I think Marika, in this presentation, there was a slide. So 35% of the listed entities currently adhering to integrated reporting framework. I would say that quantum is pretty higher if you compare with other countries in the global. And there are companies that they are going way ahead than the integrated reporting, and they are going more voluntary compliance as well. I think Sri Lanka, some companies took integrated reporting assurance also. That is, I think globally, only 7 companies has taken. So, and that's compliant with the framework is one thing. Other thing is that living with that framework can take in more value is the other thing. I would say in terms of value creation and living with integrated thinking process, I think Sri Lanka needs to improve substantially. I'm not sure how the other countries are fearing about this, but that is the part that I would like to see in Sri Lankan continental to improve the aspect. So other than that, I would say Sri Lanka as a general, we are passionate with integrated reporting, and finance is leading the whole journey, and the top management support is there, and I would say, where Sri Lanka is ranked in the global continent. And there are case studies that Integrated Reporting Council, they have taken Sri Lankan companies. So that's where Sri Lanka is ranked with regard to integrated reporting journey. So we are very, very pretty much ranked in the very high side.
The third question is, what are the other countries who follow integrated reporting?
Yeah, basically Australia, South Africa, UK, India, and I think a lot of companies, around 2,000 companies, the globe, they follow the integrated reporting currently.
The final question is integrated report a standalone document or a part of another report?
Good question. That is optional, I would say. But if you go by the Sri Lankan standards, a lot of companies they are publishing their integrated reporting along with the annual report. So they are putting integrated report also part of the annual report content element. So, but if you go to the South Africa, so they publish integrated reporting report separately to their annual report or financial statements. So that's kind of arrangement they have. But again, optional choice. So depending on the convenience and how they see about the report matters when they decide that choice.
Thank you, sir. With that, we have come to the end of the QA session. I'd like to invite our lecturer, Mrs. Niranjana Ekanayaka, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Damini. Can you all hear me?
Yes, Niranjana.
Okay, thank you, madam. And it's a great pleasure to see you all here today. And it's such a valuable opportunity we got here to have this discussion with Mr. Nuwan Withanage, our main panelist, because it's such an opportunity to have such a discussion with a member of Integrated Reporting Council in Sri Lanka. Therefore, we would like to pay our gratitude to you, Mr. Nuwan Withanage, the CFO of SoftLogic Life Insurance PLC. Thank you very much for your valuable participation and mainly for accepting this invitation and so on. And actually, genuinely, I feel it's better if we have more time to discuss with you and of course with Ms. Mayurika and Mr. Dinesh, because there are so many insightful content within the presentations and everywhere, but it's very limited time. So I wish we could have more time to talk this further. And I think we can meet again soon in next semesters continuously to have this kind of insightful sessions with you all. Then I would like to mainly thank our next guest speakers, Ms. Mayurika Silva, the Finance Manager of SoftLogic Capital PLC, and our Mr. Dinesh Asanka Dinesh, Senior Manager, SoftLogic Life Insurance PLC. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your participation. And we truly pay our gratitude to you all for coming here and giving this valuable, insightful discussion to our students with regards to integrated reporting. So this will mark the end of our first session of Finance Art 21. And we will have another session tomorrow, the second session also. And again, I would like to thank our helping hand, Dr. Madhurika Ananayakara. As always, you are here for us. And our head of the department, Dr. Shamil, was also here, and he had to attend to another meeting, so he had to leave a little bit earlier. And especially, I would like to thank our organizing committee. As usual, you have done a commendable job this time also. Thank you, Vatsala and team. And we are looking forward for the tomorrow's session also. And thank you all for the participation. Have a good night.